What if Luka Doncic was never traded on draft night? Meaning instead of heading out to Dallas, the Slovenian native was spending the first few years of his career in the A. Begging the question, how will this alter NBA history? Because the first 2 seasons in Atlanta didn't seem to come with much change, as in Luka was still becoming the Rookie of the Year after averaging over 20 a night, and both sides of the trade missed the playoffs entirely. But soon enough, the league as we all know it will look very different, with multiple domino effects changing every single detail of the NBA due to this major roster change, although we'll see these new looks and more soon enough. Because for now, we're kicking off Luka's 3rd year as a member of the Hawks, which was by far his best season to date, draining in nearly 28 points per night and thriving in Atlanta with athletic bigs like Collins and Capella to throw lobs to, leading to Luka's first postseason appearance. But while he would dazzle fans in the first round against the Cavaliers, making quick work of a Kevin Love roster, winning the series in 5, come the second round against a stacked Nets team, he wouldn't be so lucky, as Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden swarmed the inexperienced Hawks roster, ending their season in a blink of an eye. And while this series was quick, Doncic's history with the Nets wouldn't be, because as Brooklyn would make their way to winning the NBA Finals, this would only be the beginning of this massive hurdle, as 2022 marks the 2nd straight playoff run for the Hawks, where this time they look like legit contenders, facing the heavily favored Celtics in the 2nd round as they'd confidently win this series.
And Atlanta, your Hawks are headed back to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 6 years,
which now earned them a rematch against the team who defeated them last year. Only this time, Luka was more prepared, totally locked in from tip-off, playing possibly his best series of his young career so far, not only scoring the ball, but incorporating his team in the offense. And at first glance, you'd think the Hawks had this one in the bag. Except that the Brooklyn Nets offensive punch was twice as threatening as the Lone Star Doncic. With all 3 of their superstars healthy and willing to play in this reality, the Nets were primed for a dynasty run, and that's exactly what we'd see here. Sweeping Atlanta with very little question of who the better team was in this series, and with another defeat, doubts were rising if Luka could be a winner in this league.
His feet is slower than rush hour traffic. Okay, really slow feet. Really?
I mean, he's better than Ricky Rubio, but he doesn't look special to me.
He's not very good. That's why I can't go baby Bird, as in Larry Bird, because Larry Bird could shoot the lights out, as you know.
But Luka was drowning out all the noise in the offseason, focused instead on improving his game, linking up with Hawks legend Joe Johnson to add some veteran insight to his game, and the NBA was in big trouble. Luka Doncic was having the best season of his career, and in late March, we'd see our star erupt for a career-high 68 points against the Clippers, cementing himself as one of the league's best players, and in this reality, he'd get the recognition he deserved. Luka Doncic is finally an MVP. I think he should have got one by now in real life. I'm sure he will eventually, but in this reality, he is crushing on the Atlanta Hawks. But can he finally make that jump and get to the NBA Finals? However, Luka was quickly answering that question and more, because with the way he and his team were playing, it looked almost as if these were the defending champs. They were just that good, and the first 2 rounds of the East were nothing more than a formality, walking straight to the conference finals for the long-awaited rematch. For the 3rd year in a row, it was KD and the Nets. However, this time, Luka was playing no games, showing the confidence of this year's MVP, and in Game 1, would step up big with a tied game late.
Doncic maneuvers for the lead. Got it! What a shot!
Sinking in the game-winning shot, taking an early lead, but Brooklyn wouldn't tap out. After a monster game from KD in retaliation, this would be all tied up. And this back and forth battle between these 2 East juggernauts would continue, with one side taking a lead, only for the other to immediately tie it up, with no signs of anyone coming out on top. This has been a rivalry heating up for years now. It was Luka's biggest hurdle yet, and he'd have to prove himself in his first career Game 7. The only issue being, Brooklyn had far more experience for this moment, meaning the Nets' big 3 would have the advantage, but Luka would have an unmatched determination on his side. So in the biggest game of his professional career, he was using everything in his arsenal, whether it was scoring on his own or finding his teammates for easy looks, all to position his team for a chance to pull this off, landing a small lead late in the game, and all he had to do was hang on. Atlanta finds themselves up by 3 in a critical Game 7. All they have to do is hang on for a trip to the finals here. Durant the crossover, a quick drive on Collins draws the foul. The Hawks' 3-point lead evaporated almost instantly, now only up by 1 with just about 2 minutes left. Quickly with the basketball, James Harden is guarding him. Luka has the smaller Kyrie on him. They're going to Luka, the whole right side of the court to himself. He's getting the screen from Capella. Luka coming on the screen to pull up Jay to extend the lead. It rims out. A missed opportunity for Doncic. Durant, pull-ups for 3. It's soft. They kept the break in a wide open lane. Luka now pushing the pace though. James Harden picks him up. Luka Doncic decides to move. 16 seconds left on the shot clock. Luka, the drive to the left. Luka, the right-handed lay. That is off as well. The Nets now on the other end. Neither side can score in these final moments. Brooklyn not slowing it down. John Collins, Durant, and he gives Brooklyn the first lead of the fourth. Atlanta now with the ball. Their season flashing before their eyes. The spin move. Luka overpowering Kyrie. His leg gives him the lead right back. Brooklyn now with it. Kevin Durant, John Collins, he's blowing right by him. The pull-up, it's way too easy for KD. The lead exchanges hands once more. Quickly with it now. They're not going to Luka down the stretch. Timeout. Coming out of a timeout, Atlanta is trailing by 1, but 50 seconds is a lot of time left in this game. Anything can happen in these final moments. You have to get the ball inbounded though. They get the ball to Luka Doncic. Kyrie on him. Again, the smart defender. Luka driving in, using his body to pull up. Luka gives him the lead right back. Durant now on the other end for Brooklyn. 40 seconds left in this Game 7. Driving by John Collins. His pull-up. Durant's pull-up rattles in. Luka and Durant, a battle for the ages. Atlanta now with another opportunity to reclaim the lead. Down by 1. 29 seconds to drive on Kyrie. Luka completely overpowers them. Brooklyn taking a timeout, trailing late. Things were a little shaky for Luka at first, but he definitely calmed down. The nerves disappeared. He's hitting some big baskets. Durant, a quick move from KD. Durant, finally somebody misses. The Nets have to foul. The Nets had a foul to give, so it's not Luka. It's quickly at the line. He hit the first, the second free throw to put his team up by 3 for a potential trip to the finals. The Nets either don't have one or just decide not to use it their last time out here. 3-point game. Kevin Durant with it. Driving by John Collins, a pull up. I don't know why he doesn't go for the lay, but he gets it to go. 1-point game, some more free throws. The Hawks end up hitting both free throws. 3-point game again. The same position as last time. Durant with it. Kyrie Irving with the ball. Now, KD, an insane shot. An insane shot. The Hawks get the rebound. They fight for it. That's going to do it. It's over. It's over. Finally, after multiple years of losing to the Nets, they overcame their biggest hurdle and now advanced to a whole new challenge. Nikola Jokic and his Denver Nuggets were in the way of Luka's ring, and the Joker had the Hawks bigs in a nightmare trying to guard him, but the would-be champion in real life may have met his match in this reality, because Doncic looked to be on pace for the perfect season, not only winning the MVP, but also averaging over 34 points a night here in the finals, lighting the Nuggets defense up. Nothing they threw at him seemed to have any hope of slowing him down, and before we knew it, he was 1 win away from his first career ring. Although Jokic wasn't backing down with a fight, also still looking for his first ring in his career, one of the best centers in history would go on to have an all-time performance to force the Hawks into another grueling Game 7. Except this one wasn't going to have the same theatrics as the last. Luka and his Hawks were crushing the Nuggets in the final game for a blowout win en route to Atlanta's first ring since 1958. However, more importantly, the first championship of what could be many for Doncic, winning ring 1 in only year 5, but his journey was only getting harder from here.
With the first pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Victor Wembanyama from Nanterre, France.
Somehow, after having Anthony Edwards, the Wolves still managed to land the #1 pick, which of course would land them Wemby, creating a dynamic duo that in the future would certainly threaten Luka's hopes of winning. But it wasn't only the coming seasons that would be a threat of losing, because the rest of the league was stockpiling talent around their rosters right now, which was a stark contrast of the Hawks, who has failed to pair any talent alongside Luka outside of John Collins. And while during the regular season it didn't seem like a major issue, as Doncic would win back-to-back MVP MVPs after nearly averaging a triple-double. Come the conference finals, the problems were glaring. The Boston Celtics, who the Hawks have beat twice now in the playoffs, were making a huge strides this year, continuing to see improvements by Tatum every season, and unlike Atlanta, were improving their roster annually, killing the chances the Hawks repeat, with Boston winning easily. And after making such huge strides, this would be starting a downward spiral for our star. Because despite the next season resulting in another finals appearance in Sacramento, it would only be the Hawks' last breath before total collapse. Because in this reality, not only did the Kings draft a star Cade Cunningham paired alongside another great guard De'Aaron Fox, but they even kept Tyrese Halliburton in this reality. This flurry of firepower in the backcourt was incredibly overwhelming for the Hawks defense, and in the end, they'd be making quick work of Luka and the Hawks, winning the championship in a fast 5-game series. And I was feeling bad for Doncic. You gotta feel for Luka. Over these years, he has not had a single all-star teammate. Still made it to 2 finals though. The team just sucks, and somehow it's about to get worse. Because the following year, John Collins was on the move in free agency, meaning now Luka no longer even had his pick-and-roll teammate, and the impact was obvious. He would still go through the season putting up his standard jaw-dropping numbers, but with the rest of his team getting worse by the year, there was only so much he could do. Facing a Knicks team in round 1 of the playoffs where they ended up losing in 7, to only follow that up the year after with another round 1 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, packing things up after 6, which for Doncic was more discouraging than it seemed. Because with some of the all-time greats beginning to retire, now was supposed to be Luka's time to start his own era. But instead, we'd see him posting career highs in points, leading the league in scoring for multiple years in a row, only to fall incredibly short year after year after year, with Dean Wade as his best teammate. And while this is happening, the rest of the league was on the rise, with guys like Cooper Flag going into full form with the Pistons, the Celtics acquiring Ace Bailey for a championship, and as alluded to earlier, the Wolves were starting to take over the NBA, winning back-to-back championships. So for Luka, as he enters the offseason as an unrestricted free agent, after all he's done for Atlanta and all he's achieved, he'll be forced to make a decision, either for his love for this franchise or for what's best for his career. Doncic was moving on from the Hawks and joining the New York Knicks. And this change of scenery was exactly what Doncic needed, looking like a whole new player, quickly becoming a fan favorite in New York. But even still, while the 3-time MVP joining the Knicks would break the internet, this was only half of the story. He was also teaming up with an old friend, joining Nikola Jokic in what has potential to be one of the greatest duos of all time, but this pairing would come with some mixed reviews. But with Luka in year 12 of his career, and Jokic in his late 30s by now, this duo wouldn't be fazed by the noise and instead were focused on their goals. Jokic was still ringless at this point in this reality after Doncic defeated him in 2023, and Luka was desperate to build up his legacy now that he has some star power around him. But despite all that, New York was off to a rocky start in the first half of the season, with their defensive flaws glaring and lack of chemistry apparent. However, it was only a matter of time before this two-headed tandem would get things figured out. Once their offense clicked together, they would be steamrolling ahead, and with the team locking in defensively, they'd mask those issues, eventually closing up the season, rallying back to land a spot in the playoffs. And their first-round matchup would be incredibly ironic, with the Hawks finally spending some money on some stars, with not only Banchero, but also a now all-star Ace Bailey still hoping to prove himself. But none of that mattered, because as you can imagine, Luka was out for revenge, exploding for potentially the greatest single playoff series any player has had in the history of the NBA, easily scoring over 40 points a night, while nearly averaging a triple-double, hounding the Hawks with a clear chip on his shoulder. And this was all Doncic all the way through, easily sweeping the team that he called his own for so long. But we can't dwell in the first round for too long, because this group had much bigger aspirations, starting with a bit of a freebie in round 2 against the 8th seed Wizards, where Jokic was standing out as the go-to guy in this series, sharing the workload with Luka, also sweeping this series with little issue. Now landing a conference finals rematch for Luka against the team that fast-tracked the Hawks collapse years ago. They were still built around a core of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, rounded out with role players putting them in primed position to contend. This series would be far more competitive in comparison to the first couple rounds, with both sides trading blows, But in the end, the Knicks' underdog story was continuing on, defeating Boston to make the Knicks' first finals since the 90s, but their real challenge was still waiting ahead.
As in the best player in the league, the face of the league.
He is a shark in blood-infested waters.
He's fast as hell. He's strong as hell. He can shoot the basketball. He can get to the hole. He can finish over anybody.
Ant-Man and Wemby have been the undisputed team to beat over the last few seasons of the NBA, coming off a repeat with an opportunity to become the first three-peat since Kobe and Shaq, and with the way these two were playing to start the series off, it was looking like the three-peat was only a matter of time. Stunning the Knicks, leaving New York speechless after taking a 2-0 lead in Mini. And as the series shifts back out east, the Wolves were still leading this thing in commanding fashion, not giving up a single lead to the Knicks even as the final moments of the game approach, threatening to go up 3-0, but luckily for our star, with minutes left, he still had a chance. This could be Luka's biggest game of his career, trying to get back to the championship pedigree, trailing the series 2-0. This is big. If they lose this, they may go down an insurmountable 3-0. Hood Schifino with the ball. They get it over to Luka on the left side all by himself. The drive. Luka, a lot of contact, no foul. Misses, but his putback is good. Gets him within one. Minnesota now with an opportunity to retaliate. Anthony Edwards blows by his defender. Ant-Man trying to get going, driving to the paint. Edwards into a crowded paint. It's off. Jokic the board. The Knicks are on the break. They have an opportunity to take the lead here late. New York slowing it down. Hood Schifino again. Are they going back to Hood Schifino? Who does he think he is? Jokic the board. His putback gives him the lead. A minute left in the game. The Timberwolves have the ball now. Now you have to play defense to win this one late. Richardson, they get it back to Edwards. They find a wide open Christopher for three in the lead. That one's off. Murray to rebound. The Knicks, they have an opportunity to run away with this thing. Luka, 50 seconds left in the game. The screen from Jokic. Luka wide open. Doesn't shoot it. He loses it. No way. No way. Anthony Edwards on the break. Ant-Man, the crossover. Step back. The pull-up three for the lead. Anthony Edwards. A stunner by Anthony Edwards now gives the Wolves the 2-point lead. New York trying to tie this one back up or take the lead. Hood Schifino driving it in. They find Luka Doncic at the free throw line. Luka in the post. They get it back over to Hood Schifino. Coming around the Jokic screen. His pull-up jumper. The board from Murray. They're swinging it around. Luka now. They could go for the last shot. Can they go for the win? Luka, the three for the lead. Luka! He hits it. Minnesota, no timeouts. 1-point lead, New York. You need a stop. Anthony Edwards, 2 seconds left. Ant-Man, the pull-up. It's off. New York wins. New York wins. Now, after getting the confidence of a win at home, this series was about to turn upside down. We'd witness a Luka Doncic masterclass from here on out, personally outperforming Anthony Edwards game after game, and down low, we'd see the same from his co-star, outplaying the far younger Wembanyama with a blast from the past. The Knicks weren't just competing now, but they were dominating, and Minnesota couldn't do anything about it. New York finally has been crowned as the NBA champions. Jokic has finally won his first career ring, and Luka is finally back on the winning side of things again. And the best part is, he was only getting started. Because now with this star duo having a year of experience under their belt together, their chemistry would now be sky high, entering year 2 of this tandem, and now looking like the most unstoppable team in the league. Landing the top record, and they'd have a chance for a repeat. Up against the Timberwolves again, in a rematch of last year, but this time around, seemed like the Knicks had this all figured out, winning their second straight championship after 5 games here, not only giving Luka another ring in his resume, but also setting him up for a chance at a three-peat, but that wouldn't be easy, as his co-star Jokic announces his age 38 season would be his last as he plans to retire. And with Nikola at such an old age and slowing down, all the pressure would be on Luka once again. But it's nothing he hasn't experienced before, and Doncic would step up in the spotlight, cracking the 30-point club yet again for the first time since the Hawks, and still leading his team through the Eastern Conference, which so far has been no match for Luka, eventually winning it and giving the Knicks a chance for a ring 3. With it being up against Ja and his 4th-seeded Grizzlies, Luka and the Knicks would be the favorites to come out on top, which was a huge moment for Luka after all that he's been through over the years, leading Atlanta to a ring only for his palace he built to crumble down, losing year after year, to then enter a redemption arc with a good friend in New York, all culminating to this moment, where Doncic was coming out in year 15 with a chance to make history as the first three-peat in over 30 years, and he would be doing just that. Closing out the series against Memphis quickly, leading his team once again to a ring for his 3rd championship. And as Jokic is set for retirement, Luka wouldn't be far behind. Because while Doncic would play 3 more seasons and still play great, there was simply too many other talented teams in a way, and he wouldn't reach any more finals. Meaning he closes this one out post-3-peat on a high note, ending his career as undoubtedly one of the greatest to ever play. But what about if we took the potential GOAT and made him play in today's NBA? Find out by clicking this video next.